The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Review.
Alrighty, we are here, Wrestling to the Max Smackdown live review for October 4th, 2016. Also the Go Home show for No Mercy happening on Sunday, so you know what that means. Our guest, of course, is the guy that's always here, Mr. Gary Vaughn, completing the W2M crew together, and of course it's good for me to be back in this chair and not having to listen and post on the chat instead. And of course, with me is the man that always holds it down, Mr. Paul Deezer.
Heyo. This is a really nice feeling, getting the crew back together for SmackDown Live. Last week it was, great that Brandon helped fill in, but once again it was not the same. One of the first things that Sean's ever missed at all when it comes to Wrestling to the Max. So it was definitely kind of odd, but man, it's glad to have you back in that chair.
Yeah, it was like one of those where I didn't want to make you guys sit there and wait longer to do it. And then it was just really weird because we'd just gone to the thing for my grandpa and we had the funeral in the morning, and I was like, I feel like I'm going to really I think my dad was okay with it on the Monday night, but I feel like I would have gotten a lot of angry looks if I would have did it on Tuesday too. So
yeah,
just said, hey, it's SmackDown. You guys, of course, did a great job, and so we go in and talk about this Go Home SmackDown with No Mercy happening on Sunday. As I already mentioned, this SmackDown, of course, was live from the Valley View Casino Center in San Diego, California. Man, that's a mouthful. A lot of things going on there. But, the first thing that sort of stuck out to me here is the Dolphumentary. They were really rolling the dice, as you would say, with the Spirit Squad. Or the two guys from the Spirit Squad being out here. Isn't the Nick Nemeth guy in jail or something to that effect? Or
as far as I'm aware, Kenny Dykstra and the other guy whose name I'm blanking on, they're the only two who are actually still wrestling outside of Dolph, obviously.
Okay, I was wondering what happened to the other two. But didn't Nick Nemeth get charged for some crazy thing?
I don't remember.
I swear he did. But, I did like the whole documentary thing they did, the video package. And, Miz TV is usually pretty solid. I thought, once again, they nailed it here. And Dolph was angry. Dolph stood tall here. Most of the time in these things, the guy that's up against it wins, but it's Dolph Ziggler. It makes you wonder, are they really going to go through and have him retire?
Yeah, it makes you really wonder, especially with this whole, Ziggler, documentary that they put up, and, like they usually do, they put down the guy, make fun of the guy, all the kind of great stuff that came out of that video package, and it almost leads you to believe is everybody right? Is he really retiring? I don't know, because this all leads up to usually a guy winning all this stuff, but I don't know. I still could see maybe the retirement happening. If you were to ask me right now and I had no idea about maybe some of that backstage, rumor mill, I think I would say, no, there's no way Dolph Ziggler wins. But, I don't know.
This segment was probably the best thing on the show for me. I really enjoyed this feud a whole lot. That you were right with them completely rolling the dice with the Spirit Squad. Unfortunately, Kenny and Mickey were totally into the whole thing, which really helps. So, uh, other than that, I don't know who's winning this. I don't think I really care at this point. If Dolph loses and is moving on in his career, then that's fine. If he wins the Intercontinental title, that's fine with me too. I'm just really appeased and happy with how this thing has gone down.
Can I agree with you that this is really good? And it surprises me to say that because you would think this is the same old hat, Miz and Ziggler, but they've done a really good job of it. The Miz has been just on point. I have to say that he has done a great job. Ziggler, he's always pretty solid. I appreciate that. There's a few things in wrestling that I've really enjoyed. We've already talked about, so many times how much we love the whole broken Matt Hardy stuff. And there's a few other things, but this is definitely on the top of my list of favorite things that I'm enjoying in wrestling right now.
Yeah, totally agree. Normally, like Gary said, you'd be saying something about Dolph and Miz having another feud, but they've really been able to carry this thing well. It's made the IC title feel like it really means something after Miz went off and said they weren't giving it its proper due, and the fact that you're having a career versus title match and it's for the IC title, I mean that already says a lot right there. And I apologize, I am stupid. Nick Nemeth is Dolph Ziggler, so I don't know what I was thinking about at that moment.
It's kind of funny because I wasn't sure. I thought that name sounded pretty familiar. But no, I'll really quickly, this is kind of interesting that they, had, Marie's not even saying anything. Usually they have her involved in this, which is fine. They didn't need it really, but I just thought that was kind of funny. Not a whole lot of interaction with her. And the one thing I'll say is, and I'll probably talk about this Thursday, but I'm going to be very disappointed because I will not know the outcome of this match until a week after it happens. So I'm bummed about that.
It's actually his brother is the one that got arrested for killing the former Marine or whatever it is.
Killed the Miz?
No, killed him.
Wow. He's back. Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So he's in a Kurt Angle situation. His brother killed him.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That's what it is. Yeah, he pulled a pistol on him and shot him 3 times.
Oof.
Wow. Not cool. Poor guy. I feel bad for him. But yeah, it's one of these things with this where hopefully you get this thing gets resolved on Sunday, and whichever way they go with it. It's interesting because JR did mention that perhaps Dolph would retire. I haven't heard anything that kind of leads to Dolph possibly really wanting to quit, but I mean, Dolph does have other things going on, so he could just take like a sabbatical for a while and they could just make it seem like he really retired.
Oh yeah, very possible. I kind of hope he goes to work outside of the WWE just because I feel like, especially now, it's such a fulfilling experience. I think just getting to perform in front of people, in front of smaller audiences and people who want to see you all the time, who are there because you're there.
Yeah, I could see that, and it makes a lot of sense. But it just makes me wonder how many of these guys are going to take that road. But, Cody Rhodes, Damian Sandow. There's a few other guys. We could even throw in there, and I don't know. Dolph Ziggler, I could definitely see it, but he just does not seem that type. I think there's a reason he hasn't left yet, and if he is going down that road, I'm totally cool with it. But still, it's hard for me to believe. Until it actually happens, I'm not going to buy into it because he's been a WWE guy through and through, no matter what.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's had 2 contracts come up in this time that I feel like there's been 2 contracts. I know we had the one, but I feel like there was another time where Dolph almost said he was going to leave or something, and you thought, okay, well, there's so much hype around the Indies right now, this would be the time, or other promotions, and he didn't do it. So This is where I think that money comes in, and having that ability to do the stand-up comedy thing in his spare time and all that kind of stuff probably played a part in it.
Hmm.
But we'll see what they do with that on Sunday. Another thing that was kind of brewing throughout the show was the whole Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton stuff. Bray Wyatt had a match with Kane again. You know, this was Bray Wyatt and Kane. You kind of get what you get here. Also, Bray decided he just wanted to leave after Randy Orton had already shown up on the Titantron. So the crowd booed, and Kane won by countout. So, yeah, Kane keeps beating Bray Wyatt.
The way they sort of went about this at the beginning, I thought it was going to be much cleaner, at least, because I just thought he was going to turn around, eat a chokeslam, and they called it a day. But Wyatt walking out and all that, I think, obviously, it makes this completely a non-factor, I think, going forward. But him doing that and then getting involved with all the stuff from Randy backstage, I think I like this stuff a lot more than what we got last week.
Yeah, what we got last week really was, I don't want to say detrimental to Bray Wyatt, but in a way it was. We kind of went on a little bit of a tangent last week about the fact that,
Wasn't it just really bad?
The
What do you
stuff
mean?
last week?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get to watch it, but I heard a lot of people just making fun of it last week.
Well, I would call it very hit and miss.
Yeah, we went on a tangent last week about the fact that it was Bray Wyatt's world. Randy Orton goes into it and dominates.
Mm-hmm.
To me, and when we talked about this, it's bad. It makes no sense. So that was our big problem. In this, I do like it. Like Paul said, this is better. This, sure, it's still kind of weird. Randy Orton's playing this character of I can be dark too, I can be mystical, even though this is really honestly out of his wheelhouse, if you ask me. Yeah,
he's done it before. Didn't he do it again in the Undertaker feud? Like where he...
Yeah.
Well, it was more Undertaker playing mind games with him, right? But
Yeah, but he's not known to be like this mystical person, whereas
Right.
The Undertaker is. Bray Wyatt is. And in this instance, he kind of played like he was, but he couldn't be that, whereas Bray Wyatt was. And I love that point where you see Bray Wyatt sitting at the room and talking, saying, Sister Abigail, I'm ready. Take me home. Oh, that's so awesome. That's the kind of stuff we need. We need more of that from Bray Wyatt. And I hope they don't get away from that. That's the stuff that they need to really shine and put a spotlight on, because that is what's going to get fans involved. This world right now that we live in is so big when it comes to comic books, to science fiction, to all those realms, horror films. All these things are big and popular right now. Get into that. Take that. Run with it. Sell it. People are going to be eating up Bray Wyatt if they can see him as this person that's just not another wrestler.
it sets him apart. It
Mhm.
makes him different, and you don't have... we don't know what's going on with the Undertaker, and either way, you only see him once a year to do the match. It's not like you really see him to be doing that kind of stuff anymore, so you don't have that character anymore. And, I mean, Kane doesn't really do it, so you need that kind of character, that mystical character, that character that you don't know what he's going to do. And that was a good step in the right direction. Orton looked good there, and then Wyatt also looked good at the end, getting to escape. So, I mean, I feel like you look equal going into Sunday.
I still don't know if I would call it equal, but I'm certainly a little bit more interested than I was.
Which is, I guess, a tad more interesting.
It's not a lot, but I had 0 going forward. Now I got at least like 5%, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
He just started charging his phone. That is just, it's inching up little by little. You know what? I mean, I am happy with that last video package that you had right there. And then, of course, you had Randy Orton going and not finding him, which is, solid because you want to see Randy Orton frustrated that he cannot contain Bray Wyatt. Once again, I'm kind of with Paul. I'm more interested now, but I have a big fear. We're going to get to No Mercy. None of this is going to matter. It's just going to be a match. 1, 2, 3. Randy Orton walks out victorious, and no one cares. I want to see more of this mystical stuff. It's got to matter somewhere.
Yeah, you have to wonder what they're going to do with that. I mean, this is where you kind of got to end some feuds, because Survivor Series, depending on what you're going to do there, are you going to have a lot of the tag matches, or are you going to have more singles matches, or what you're going to do? Traditionally, when they have the Raw versus SmackDown, they have a lot of Raw and SmackDown talent mixing, because it's the only times you can do it, and whatever. So I would assume this is what the Survivor Series is going to be, especially if the main event or semi-main event is the rumored match that we're hearing already. That would kind of put it to where you don't have to have a bunch of big matches in the undercard. But I hate to see Wyatt lose again, but it's Bray Wyatt. When does he really win anything?
Don't remind
Can't
me
say
of
we've
that.
been surprised at all.
Yeah, and I mean, you'd have to think Randy goes over here too, simply because I think he's next up for whenever Cena and Dean break off to do their thing. So
You guys are depressing me.
But they did have at least quite a few things with the women here. 2 straight segments with them, with Alexa Bliss taking on Nikki, and that didn't last long. Let's be honest, none of the matches really lasted long on the show. This was not about the matches. It was about continuing feuds into No Mercy. Basically, Carmella was out on commentary, and she cost them the match, and then Becky came out to even the odds, and you have a tag match playa. And then this didn't go very long, but Alexa Bliss pinning, was it Nikki?
no, she pins Becky.
Yeah, pins Becky to basically, she'd already gotten the number one contenders match, but it makes her look solid, even though I'm not usually a big fan of the champion getting pinned right before that title match, but still, at least Alexa Bliss looked good here, and it sets up interesting things for that title match.
Yeah, to an extent. I think, really honestly, this is one of those locks in this pay-per-view. Becky Lynch is not losing that title. That's a lock. It's like the Patriots versus the Browns. You don't have to even ask a question. But, I look at this and I think that...
Watch the Browns go and win now. They're curious of that.
No, but Brissett is no longer quarterback. We have no worries now. But no, seriously, I definitely appreciate Alexa Bliss getting the rub here, and she's been getting it for a little while. They've been really showing that they want to do something good with her. It's something that they have really pushed. But at the same point, the victory that Becky Lynch is going to take does not hurt her because of all these good things happening to Alexa Bliss leading up to this. So no biggie. You continue the Carmella Nikki thing. This was short. It got to the point. I wasn't hating it, but it was kind of insignificant.
I don't know if I call it insignificant. I would call it very minor, I think, in the grand scheme of things. The nice part about this whole thing, though, was that the crowd was super into both of these segments, and that's very helpful. Nikki was over when Becky came out to make the save. The crowd popped really well too. So I don't have a problem with Alexa beating Becky here, especially because you're still trying to build her up as credible. And this goes a long way towards doing that, even though I still don't feel like we have a clear idea of her character yet.
Certainly. And so, the Usos have been trying to take out Jordan and Gable for quite a while. They succeeded with Gable. And right now, on this show, they have Jason Jordan and Jey Uso. This does not last very long at all, about a minute or so. Jason Jordan gets a roll-up pin, and they're not even at the pay-per-view. It's actually the Usos and Heath Slater and Rhino for the tag titles. So this is just kind of furthering their feud. And yeah, I mean, it would make sense that I guess the Usos are probably going to win on Sunday, and then you add more fuel to that fire of Jordan and Gable eventually usurping them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the match isn't much anything to talk about, but it continues to show the direction the tag division's going in. This is the feud. Honestly, Slater and Rhino's been a fun ride, but I think this is what they're going to go with in the future.
Yeah, and I get it. They had to get through some of these matches pretty quickly, but wow. I mean, that was a little far-fetched if you ask me to end this match that fast. And I get you're the most important thing here is to get Heath Slater and Rhino out there to kind of face down the Usos before the big pay-per-view. But still, I thought that was kind of crazy that was so short. I did not expect the match to be that short. And to me, a little bit, to be honest with you, I don't believe it. I don't like it because these two teams, I'm sure in the future are going to have matches that are 15 minutes long. So.
Oh, I'm sure. We're not going to complain about it because they're going to be really good. So, that means, at least Slater and Rhino got to come out and make the save and look good, even though I just can't feel that they're going to be tag champions for very long. But hey, they got their little run, and that matters.
Yeah,
matter. You've established Heath Slater as something now too, which could maybe transfer over into an Intercontinental title program.
Oh yeah,
that would be interesting.
People
would root for him.
Definitely, and it depends on what happens with Rhino when the election comes up because he's got the November happening pretty soon, and that could mean he's taking office in Michigan. So, yeah, that's going to be good if Heath Slater does take some of that mojo and run with it, and let Rhino do his own thing.
Well, you were speaking of mojo, Gary. You gave me a great segue. Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder taking on the Vaudevillains in the other tag team, male tag team match that happened here with that tag division. The Ascension come out at some point because I guess we got to remember that they exist, which I guess that's a good thing. Well, we know that they're still going around. Mojo just goes nuts and he dances as well, so he's got that fever going, and the Hype Bros win, as you'd expect. I guess maybe Hype Bros against the Ascension in the pre-show.
We still only got 6 matches on that card for Sunday, so maybe.
Well, they've already shown that they don't care about not going 3 hours of SmackDown pay-per-views. So.
Well, the last one was only on the network, right? It wasn't on a pay-per-view network or anything, whereas this one is. Right, so
sure.
I think that's going to matter some. At any rate, you've got to do something with these other teams that you have. You have to do something to keep them relevant, and this is what they're going with right now. And while we don't know what that is, I'm intrigued. How do you make the Ascension matter after so long of not mattering?
Yeah, that's a problem. And
you get a bunch of NXT fans up there so they can yell "yeah" all the time.
Yeah, that makes me want to go, yeah, dummy, to those people.
Could you imagine Eli Drake, with the Ascension?
I would love it.
Yeah, dummy, yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what I think of when I hear yeah. But yeah, dummy. Every time I say it now, I've got to say dummy. But here we are, and I don't know where or how or what is going to make people care about this. The Hype Bros are fine, but outside of people that watch them in NXT, are there really that many people behind them? I don't know. I don't really see it. Crowd reactions aren't really there all the time for them. The Ascension is not really a team that you're really fearful of. They've been beat by everybody. So I hope this is going to be a good cool-down match for one of these bigger matches, and hopefully it shines and these guys get a chance to showcase what they really can do instead of being, what they usually are, and that's Squash City.
Yeah, and this wasn't Squash City, but it was really weird. Your technical main event match was Jack Swagger and Baron Corbin. Man, this just was there. I love Jack Swagger, but this wasn't the match to really debut him again on SmackDown.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Jack Swagger has been in that same situation that the Ascension has been in. And that's basically, hey, I'll wrestle for a few minutes and then you just beat me down. And that's what Jack Swagger's been for a long time now. We the People, that seems like decades ago. And even though it wasn't, it seems like decades. So I don't know how excited I was about this. This is fine. They did a decent job, but this is nothing super great. And I just don't have a lot of interest in it, per se. I mean, I'm glad Baron Corbin has something to do. That's the biggest thing. Baron Corbin has something to work with. Outside of that, not really my favorite thing.
I wasn't really overly enthused with this. I was paying more attention to my phone than I was the match. It's just
Tell you
boring.
all you need to know.
Yeah.
Just boring. They weren't doing anything really out there to make me care.
This felt like, oh, we need matches for No Mercy, and we've been teasing these two doing something, so let's have them sort of have a teaser match where Jack Swagger gets a weird-ass finish, and we'll just set up a random rematch on No Mercy.
Yeah. And no one's going to care then either, probably. And that's sad. It's sad, but, definitely don't want to sit here and fantasy book, but it just really makes me wonder, what can they do to get these guys in a place where people do care? And Jack Swagger, he's a likable enough guy, but you've got to have him either go on a running streak or you've got to have him do something that really wins the crowd over. I don't know if his personality's there to do it just through that. But, you never know. It's weird to say this, but maybe Baron Corbin has a better personality, and that's not really there either. But, I mean, at least Baron Corbin, I can buy into, hey, this guy's a jerk. No one likes him. I don't even like him watching it just because he acts like a jerk. So, at least he's got that going for him.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still not into either guy, really, at this point. They're flat. There's no dimensions to them other than I'm Guy and you're Guy. Let's fight. But
what can you do? What would you do with that, Paul? Think about it. What would you do to make these guys actually matter?
I mean, I think you should have probably tried to retool Swagger with something else besides using the same old thing that he had on Raw, because he's still the same guy. He's just on a different show now. There's no difference to him. And Baron Corbin really should have been more aggressive thing coming out the gate, but they went nowhere with that Kalisto thing. And maybe if he's just beating up more people and maybe more important people to get you to care, then maybe that's what I would have done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, Baron Corbin, like you said, had that thing where he was just being a bully and he didn't care, and that was actually making him sort of interesting. Then you just have him be doing this, and it's like, okay, whatever this is. And who knows if Sacramento is going to care about this match or not. I mean,
they may not, but if you ask me personally, I'm going to throw something against the wall that's never going to happen. But if I could just do anything I wanted to, I give Jack Swagger a blue blazer and have him do that, and then I move on, and I have if TNA does eventually go down, which we don't know still, probably. I give Baron Corbin either a manager or someone to just be beside him that maybe people can get into. Give him Rosemary. Could you imagine those two together?
That would be very odd.
It would, but that's what would sell people, I think, on it. It would be very odd, but it would be kind of a neat little thing, I think. So
it would be neat, but it's probably not happening.
No, it's definitely not happening on WB television.
So the last thing is what they were teasing for the whole night, which was the face-off between AJ Styles, John Cena, and Dean Ambrose. Of course, last week. I totally forgot to watch Talking Smack, so I have no idea if anything happened on Talking Smack or not. But you know, this this I thought lived up to the hype. You had Dean Ambrose. Basically, AJ and Dean Ambrose stopped John Cena from talking after they got into a little bickering with each other, where they got to each say their piece about why they don't like John Cena and what they have a problem with John Cena. And I thought Ambrose brought up some interesting points that I don't know that people have really heard before about. It's stuff that I think we've heard, our friend Fonty talk about, but a lot of times what we hear about Cena is the exact opposite of John Cena, that he's not just living a character, that's who he really is. So it's a bit jarring to hear Ambrose say that. I wonder if that's just him playing the character and they're trying to get the fans to kind of ooh and awe at, oh man, is maybe John Cena not this guy? And AJ kind of poked at him just because of the whole, oh, we know what you're going to say, everything else. I mean, and then they just kind of each brawled and each had their little moment there. So, yeah, I like this.
I thought this was very good, mostly because you got to let Dean and AJ build the match, and Cena got to just sort of be action guy, which is a nice change of pace. Both Styles and Ambrose, I thought, were very good at laying out their reasons for hating Cena. And Styles, I don't want to say almost came off as extra, but he almost did in a way, just because I think Ambrose was so much more into what he was saying than AJ's typical bad guy thing, which I love, don't get me wrong, but Ambrose just, I think he way overshadowed everybody here.
Yeah, he did. And, I think this all worked out because all these three guys had, things that they needed to sell. And I think they kind of did it. And John Cena really didn't have to say anything to sell it. So, to me, it was solid. I think all three did fine. No problems at it, and I think it did kind of build us to, what's going to happen on Sunday. So, really enough said.
Certainly, and we'll get to preview that show on the Friday morning edition, part 2 of WTM episode 215, as well as some other things that we're doing on that show. But that's going to conclude things for the Go Home Show to No Mercy Smackdown. So the only thing we got left to do is give this show a rating.
And 6-ish, somewhere in there. There's a lot of good build here. There's no real wrestling to speak of, but I didn't hate a good amount of this episode. So I had just a bit under average, I think.
Yeah, I'm wavering between a 5 and a 6. I guess I can't be too hateful. I did not watch this episode and just think it was terrible, so I'll give it a 6. But, short matches, lots of build, which, hey, that's what they're supposed to do. It's coming up to, being a go-home show, if that makes sense. So I like the main event stuff. I, appreciated some of the other things like the Bray Wyatt segment. I did enjoy that. So there you go, 6.
Yeah, I'm going to go with 6 as well. This was just kind of, it built well to No Mercy. I mean, I wouldn't call it killer build to No Mercy either, but most of the stuff that they have here, either you could see potentially setting up a match that hadn't happened yet, or they're building something that is set already, and they did set Carmella and Nikki Bella officially for the show as well. So you have things moving along. Yeah, there's really no wrestling to watch here, but nothing wrong with a segment-heavy show when they can get it right. Still, it's almost always much easier to watch 2 hours of SmackDown than it is 3 hours of Raw. And this is kind of one of those shows that proves that it doesn't. This one did feel a little bit overly. It did feel a little bit like it took a little bit longer than some of the other shows, though. Maybe because you were kind of grinding through the bit of wrestling that was there. It was hard to care about it.
Yeah. And you also had the Susan G. Coleman thing kind of taking up some time, too. So
I try to just avoid mentioning that.
I know. I'm just
Not
saying
that I
that's
have a problem with WWE doing stuff for charity, just
no. It just makes things drag. It just that's the only thing, and you got to give respect to WWE for doing it, but it just does, like Sean's saying, it makes it drag.
and it's so. I mean, it's cool that they're giving them titles and stuff like that now. It's just, I don't know. I'm not. I don't want to sound hateful, so I'll just stop. But whatever. I mean, credit to those women, and that's awesome, and I'm glad they're getting recognition for that. Just that charity doesn't always have the nicest things said about it. Let's be honest. But anyway, not to make it a political show before we get out of here. Of course, I already said, make sure if you didn't check out the Raw review, that's there as well. Of course, our first part of WTM episode 215, where we reviewed ROH and TNA's pay-per-views that happened over the weekend, so you should check that out if you haven't already. And, of course, all the other things on WTM Network, the football shows are all there, all 3-4 of them. And Fox News Squid is back, and so should be the other shows as well. Just keep subscribing, keep checking it out, rating, review on iTunes, and whatever else you can. Of course, check out WTNet.com for any where we're gonna have a No Mercy preview, a written preview, of course, the roundtable that we usually do, and we'll. Of course, we'll have that WTM extra with Patrick and Harry if all things go well. With Paul, hopefully is around if work is not getting in the way. And
I'm off Sunday, as far as I'm aware, so I should be there.
Good. Because I think Gary mentioned the first episode, but Gary won't be there. So, but he's getting to go on a cruise, so. I don't envy him, or I envy him.
Yeah. He said you don't envy. That's why I was like, well, that's cool. I don't want you to envy me. Trust me. I was just thinking about this. It'd be the first week. Of course, I'll miss any shows, and also the first week in probably 4 years, I will not be watching any wrestling, which is very odd. So.
Well, hey, at least you'll be refreshed and be wanting to watch wrestling.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe we'll see when I get back and what happens after this No Mercy.
Yeah, you might go into that Raw and like this show again. Okay, whatever. But okay, everybody. Gary, how does it go?
If you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all.
You know it.
Later, everybody.
Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.